My name is Rigel the Clown. It's really a magic special thing to me, being a clown.
My name is Michael Woodward, but you can call me Mr. Face. If you give me a choice between a room full of, clowns versus a room full of some other kind of job, I'm gonna go with the room of clowns. It just seems like it'll be more fun.
My name is Keith Shubert, and I do something called ToyBox Theater. I've been doing that for over 20 years. I do clowning, storytelling, comedy, puppetry arts, toy making. I also curate events, festivals, puppet festivals, music and arts festivals, and performances, variety shows. I work in a lot of different types of shows. I do stuff for all ages, I do stuff for children, and I do stuff for grown-ups. I go sometimes and I perform with the Magicians Club. I perform in the drag and the burlesque shows, because adding a little variety in those shows, people love it, It's like, people come and they're like, I wanted to come and see these sexy performers, but you were actually my favorite part. And I hear that quite often, I'll do like comedy showcases, and sometimes I'll open for rock bands. People are like, wow, I didn't expect that. People see my act and they'll come up to me and they'll say, well, what do you call it? Was it clowning? Was it storytelling? Was it stand-up comedy? Was it a puppet show? What is that? And I just say yes.
I moved to Asheville, North Carolina in 1995 when I was 15 years old. I was fortunate that I got to be involved with Asheville Playback Theater pretty much right when I moved here, and it was a lot of fun doing improvised audience participation theater with a bunch of middle-aged hippies. I have been with the Surreal Circus since 96.
I've probably been dressing like a clown for 10 years now, but only actively clowning for maybe 6 of them. Initially, it was puppeteering that got me into clowning. I went to a show at the auditorium where Madison J. Cripps and Keith Shubert were doing their Nightmare of Noise thing. It was a silly thing where they have circuit-bent toys and they're dressed up like monsters. It's a lot of fun, but got to know them. From them, I got to know the toy boat folks in the Asheville vaudeville scene, got to meet the Seduction Sideshow folks.
For probably the first 10 years or so of my career, I was living in the Chicago area. In 2006, there was a big puppetry festival here in Asheville, which I attended, and I saw a poster in a restaurant for a Butoh festival, and I was like, there's a Butoh festival? This place is amazing. Like, who has a Butoh festival? I never would have expected. I'd never seen that before. A festival dedicated to Butoh, which if you don't know what Butoh is, it's a form of Japanese avant-garde dance theater that also includes a lot of clowning. It's like almost like dark clowning. Asheville clicked a lot of boxes for me.
Well, the clown is this magical being that is in all of us if we want it to be. But once you find your clown, then this door opens to a world of possibilities unknown to normal humans. It's maybe the closest thing to being a witch or wizard as possible. Because you can make magic. You make magic happen.
So I play 2 different characters, basically. Both are named ToyBox. One is a clown character, and one is America's favorite cartoon witch. And so both of them are clowns, but sort of non-traditional clowns. in the clowning world, what you would call an eccentric clown or a character clown, maybe. My father's mom was a collector of clown ephemera and memorabilia and circus memorabilia. So her house was filled with clowns, all over, paintings and plates and figurines, and she would make little doll clowns and sew us quilts with clowns on them. So there was all sorts of clown stuff at my grandmother's house. My mom's mom and my mother, when I was very little, were really interested in building doll houses. So I spent a lot of time in doll stores and doll museums when I was very small. And so toys are something that is heavily part of my culture. I am a person that I never put away my toys. I think some people at a certain point in their life, maybe when they're in their preteens or something, they decide to sell their toys in a garage sale or put them in the attic or under their bed or something like that. And I never did that. I've collected toys and really played with toys my whole life, and now I just do it professionally for people for money. So,
well, I humbly and truly believe that we're here to fart around. And there's something simple and honest about having fun. It's not a contest. It's an activity, or it's a feeling you engage in just for its own sake, almost. I don't know. That might be a little.
I can remember watching early Sesame Street, and the early Sesame Street from the 60s and 70s was very powerful. Not only the puppetry, but the sort of interstitial bits that had this amazing psychedelic animation, and it was very weird, and and I think that those things are good. Kids like to be scared. Kids like things that are weird. Kids like things that they have to think about, that challenge them, And so that's something I think that has made me really successful as a children's entertainer, is that I don't talk down to children. I don't provide a show that is predictable or cookie cutter. I like to keep them guessing what's going to happen. I like to surprise them. And I like to be weird, and kids eat that up,
This is the pinnacle of comic book literature right here. You can't do better than this.
Another big influence to me growing up and my whole life has been reading and collecting comic books. And, there's so much variety, not only in art, but in storytelling in that art form. Looking at this sort of stuff and then thinking oh, I could be this in real life. This doesn't have to be a fiction, it can be real. So blurring the line between fiction and reality and creating this sort of magical realism and mystique within what I do. And I think that is one of the wonderful things that a clown is capable of doing, right? And that's why clowning is awesome, because you can walk this line between what's real and unreal, or what's real but then to an exaggerated extent of reality. I did my first puppet show when I was in 6th grade, and so that was something that I've always just loved. It's like puppetry to me is the most successful way that you can augment reality. I went to school to be an elementary school teacher. I was doing a lot of stuff with puppetry as a learning tool. During the 90s, early 2000s, there was a very vibrant and fascinating adult-oriented puppetry scene, like a sophisticated things that were elevated and not specifically for children. When I graduated from Northern Illinois University, then I went to the Art Institute of Chicago and I took a puppetry course with a man named Blair Thomas, who founded a famous puppet troupe in Chicago called Red Moon Theater.
To be honest, clown is less a noun and more a verb, or less a verb and more a noun. You are a clown, but you clown. You clown, but you are a clown. But if you try to clown, then you're probably not clowning. You walk a tightrope between great joy and great sorrow, and you're really the only one that has that ability to be in that space.
I worked at a lot of crappy jobs while I was still performing and trying to make it as an artist, and then I would go and do these amazing things and go to festivals where there was artists from all over the world, and then I'd go back to like my blue collar job and try and tell people like, oh, I was at this puppetry festival, and people would be like, yeah, whatever, like they just didn't get it.
Clowning is the best job in the world because it's a job where even if you mess up utterly, you can still kind of succeed. You can try to do a trick and totally screw up, and it can still be funny. Accidentally, even.
To develop the personality and the being is really just an extension or an exaggeration of yourself, right? And so for me, that's exactly what I do, right? And it's sort of this thing of where when I put on my costume and put on my character, I'm able to reveal a truer form of who I am sometimes than what I actually am as a person. For it's like when you, in some ways, when you put on the mask, you're taking off another mask, right? And so you can reveal a personality that is more true to yourself that maybe is not as readily acceptable in your human form. For example, like if I'm in my clown character, I can walk up to someone and say, hey, you look fantastic today. I love your hair. Your hair looks great. Your shoes are really cool. I like your shoes, or something like that. Whereas sometimes if you're walking down the street and you approach a stranger and say, hey, I like your shoes or something, people are like, don't talk to me, leave me alone, but if I'm in character, I can say and do exactly what I want to say, and do exactly what I want to do, and it's acceptable. I'm able to sort of break down barriers and walls that might exist in society based on so many things of race, ethnicity, gender.
Post-Optimus Prime.
Through being a clown, through being a character, you can engage anyone. You can talk to anyone. You can, laugh with anyone, and they accept that, And so that's really an amazing thing, and it helps me live a fruitful and happy life.
People ask all the time, why are you here? I don't think they understand how deep of a question that is to be asking a stranger, let alone a clown. So I give them that honest answer of walking a tightrope between great sorrow and great joy, and holding up a mirror to society. And I don't know if they understand my answer, but it is honest.
Life has ups and downs, and maybe not necessarily in a dramatic or storybook fashion. You know, it's rarely a man in a hole story where, you know, you're doing okay and then you're not doing okay for a while, but then you climb yourself back up, or, you know, or any of the other story archetypes. Mostly it's a little bit of a little bit of a little bit of a little bit of Sometimes you're really down, sometimes you're really up there. This is the emotional narrative that most folks deal with. Sometimes you're down for a long while, but we're not going to get into that. And clowns can go back and forth thanks to that nifty tightrope Rigel told us about, between and oscillate almost, ideally with grace. I'm new at it. I am probably going to be a little bit clunky just starting out, but we're working on it.
Whatever it is that you're interested in, if you never give up, if you keep doing the thing that you're interested in, eventually you will become an expert at it and you will succeed at it. And, you know, there's times where you don't think that that's going to happen, you know, and where it's going to be very hard. Connecting with your audience, I think, is super important, especially as a clown or entertainer, that you give them something where, yes, you are magical and beyond reality, but also there's something there that's centered and grounded that they can also relate to, and that will win over your crowd, and that is, you know, super important too. So having that balance, you know, having the balance of walking this sort of tightrope act that you know, you need to be mysterious to a degree but also relatable. What you're there to do is to make an impact, to inspire people, and to, you know, make their life better, even if it's just for 45 minutes. You know, your job is to make their life better.
Until next time, goodbye.